Hello, everyone. Welcome to Knights at the Round Table. I'm Luca, and this is TJ.
Hello there.
For tonight, we are reviewing a Korean horror film, Train to Busan. So, the movie is about a man and his estranged daughter who get trapped on the train during a zombie outbreak.
All right.
What are your thoughts,
Alright.
TJ?
I quite I liked it. It's not the best movie, but I found it to be a very enjoyable film. You?
I found it to be a great film. It's full of surprises and a bunch of familial bonds.
Yeah. I guess we should start with the characters. How'd you find them?
Great. I like the man and the other guy in the train who has a pregnant wife.
Yeah. Hang on, I have to write them down.
He has some-
Also mispronunciations ahead. Seek Woo is what the dad's called.
Uh-huh.
And Sang Ha, I think that's how it's said, is the other man. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
I want to say something real quick about the father's character.
Sure.
I think the film does a great job in developing his character because he starts out selfish and only caring about himself, but he does have a change of heart when his daughter tells him that he only cares about himself, and he starts helping the other people survive.
Yeah. He doesn't. I mean, I would personally have thought the characters were. They were a bit weird. Not weird. How would I say that? They were in. I didn't find them. They didn't feel all that fleshed out. But for what they were. But I wouldn't be. But I found myself being engaged by them. I definitely cared. I definitely was hoping they made it through in the end. I found the characters to be a bit weird. I think it was part of that was we watched this through subtitles. We watched the sub version. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And the dialogue for that was weird. It was sort of bizarre. I don't know if that's, but that could just be it could just be the translation or what. And also, I found the acting to be odd, which although I'm not familiar with Korean, and I'm not familiar with Korean cinema, so I don't know what a performance. I don't know what people are as expected in their performance, but I found some of the character acting to be a little over the top and just sort of bizarre. But going back to my first point, I think they worked well enough. I like how I'm gonna look his name again. I also like how did they ever explain why he's good at fighting?
Why he's good at fighting?
Yeah, because if I'm remembering it correctly, they never do. He just is.
Oh yeah, they don't show where he got his training from. Yeah.
Which I found to be great. He's just
It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's my favorite. Yeah, he's probably one of my favorite characters in the film. He's just for no. Okay, trying to think what else. There's also what else about the characters? The main.
I have something to say. One thing I really like about the father and daughter being stuck in the train with these uninfected people is that they develop the friendships. When the zombie outbreak gets bigger on the train, the two protagonists of the film have to rely on the man and his wife to get to a room that is safe, and they get to know each other while evading the zombies, and they share a few jovial moments.
Yeah, I would agree. So, it's very. There's the scene. I like the middle section the best.
Uh-huh.
We'll get into the action later, but it definitely does use their characters. Not to spoil too much, it does use their character traits in a very interesting way. So beyond that, I thought. Beyond that, I don't have much more to say about the characters. You?
No, not yet.
Yeah, simple.
I want to get more into it later.
Yeah, simple. So so basically, not the most complicated, but I found them effective. That's my opinion, please. I quite. What do you think of the setting? Because personally, I've never heard this film. I've never seen this. I've never seen anyone talk about this film. But the main thing I was interested in was the setting. I'm sure there's other films like it, but I cannot name. I don't know many zombie. It's just a very cool idea to have a zombie film put on this in this setting. I quite like movies and such that take place in a weird environment. Like a good example would be Snowpiercer, a film made by a different Korean director. But it's which I was worried that would be it wasn't a which I was worried that they would be a bit similar, but no, they're two different things. Enough about Snowpiercer. How did you think the setting?
The film takes place in like 3 separate cities.
But mainly the train.
The train,
Yeah, the train is the setting I'm talking about.
Yeah, the train looks nice. Like has a very fancy interior.
Yeah.
And I like I like the city they arrive to.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be arriving to Busan.
Do you mean the city before they get to Busan, like their first stop, or do you mean like when at the end?
Busan, like at the end.
But we don't see Busan. We only see guards.
Yeah, exactly. It's like barren.
That's not. But that's not. But that. Are you sure that's not the middle film? And no, never mind. I quite like some.
Like they make it look like something bad happened.
You mean like their first stop? Do you mean like their first stop?
No, I'm talking about the end. But yeah, the bad things happen at the first stop too.
But but we never see Busan. Like we see the only city we really see to any degree that isn't in say flashbacks is the first place and also the second place they go to, where all the military soldiers are infected.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about? That's not Busan.
I know, but in Busan, there's a bunch of dead bodies like scattered everywhere.
You mean like at the gates?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Anyways, back to the train. I quite like the setting of the train. I found they used it in a very interesting way. Like there's like in the way that people have to think about moving through it. I like how they use tunnels in there. We'll get more into it later. I think they did a good job using that environment. Also like how a lot of the apocalypse is through the perspective of the people on the train.
Uh-huh.
We don't see too many aerial shots of chaos of other cities. We mainly see it through the windows of the train, through videos that the characters are watching, the news. I found that to be very simple but very effective.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the comedy of the film?
I didn't really like the comedy all that much. It's not horrible or annoying, but just actually turn. It's not horrible or annoying, but it works fine. It's not just didn't really hit me. You?
It's okay. Like they make some funny jokes here and there,
Yeah.
and I like the scene where the dad gets his daughter a Wii U, but she already has a Wii U.
That is the exception. I do like that joke. Also a lot of weird product placement at the beginning. Like it's not too annoying. It doesn't pervade through the whole film, but we got Burger King. We got his car, which that bit is not too abnormal, and we got the Wii U. It's not too distracting, but it's there, and it does lead to a good joke, which also establishes his character quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, I do like going back to the characters. I do like the connection. I do like the connection he has with his daughter. Like, it's simple, but it works. It's simple. Like, he obviously cares for her, but he's definitely estranged, and more addicted to work. Not the most original, but it works. The film.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's. But I didn't really find this a comedy film. I found it more of an action film. Speaking of, how did you find the action in the film?
Amazing.
Yeah, I found it to be great too.
Yeah.
I especially the two best aspects of the film to me were the action, the pacing, and the action. Which, like, there's definitely. I mentioned how they use the environment of the train for good effect, and I think that, and the action definitely shines through. Like, there's part of it's like there's people getting never mind. I like how going to a jump. They never really feel stale. Like, whenever, for a number of, even though there are a number of times where the characters are being chased by zombies, like, it's always in a different environment. Like, sometimes it's in the train, sometimes it's in the state, sometimes it's in the city. They never do it. They never have an action scene in the same. Well, they never have the same action scene in the same area, which keeps things fresh. Also like the pacing in the film. How did you find that?
It's doable.
I quite liked it. I quite liked it. I like how the characters you mentioned. I do like how the characters are changed by the situation. Like, I don't know what he's called. He's basically in charge. He's basically in charge of the passengers. His name is Jan Suk. Like, he's in charge of all the passengers, and I like how he changes throughout the film.
The conductor?
What?
The conductor?
No, he's the guy who gets trapped in the. Like, he's in charge. He decides to keep the characters out of the main compartment. He's that guy.
Oh, the business guy.
Yeah, well, he's not really a business guy. He's
guy with glasses, right?
No, he doesn't have glasses. He's the guy in charge of the train. Like, he decides, like, he's in the bathroom. Like, he gets turned into a zombie at the end.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
One of the train people. Okay.
Yeah. I like how he starts. I like how he. It felt very like there's the cliche of the guy who just doesn't care about other people and just will screw over anyone to survive. But I thought they handled him quite well. Like, it doesn't feel inorganic, his transition from. At the beginning, he's still trying to help people near the middle, and he just gets more and more desperate and scared and stressed out as the film goes along, until eventually he's just screwing over people just to survive.
What I like about the pacing of the movie is that it goes from the man talking to his daughter to zombie attack to the man and daughter talking to the other people on the train to the zombie attack again. It just repeats.
I can say that.
Yeah.
There's also that also brings me to I like how there is breaks within the film. Like, it's not just full on action. Like, there's definitely a few quieter moments. Like, as you mentioned, he talks to his daughter a lot, he talks to two other people, and there's also the beginning of the film. And it's definitely, and I found that a nice element of the pacing. What else is there? I guess we should.
What about the homeless guy?
I found him to be likable. Like, he doesn't.
Like,
he doesn't.
He helps them.
Yeah, he is.
We get our first scene of foreshadowing when homeless guy hops on the train and says repeatedly that everyone is dead.
I mean, we get a lot of foreshadowing beforehand.
Yeah, presumably he was referring to everyone he ever knew.
No, I think he's more just talking about the zombies. I don't think it goes too deep, but there's enough. But I do like that. I do like the beginning. How we have this like we only see sort of the aftermath. Like we hear a bunch of news, we see a bunch of vehicles going around, and it's only till the train is off that we really see another human zombie. Which I quite like. And that also goes throughout the film as things get gradually worse.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how'd you find the zombies?
I find them to be scary. I like their movement.
Yeah.
And I like how they spread rapidly throughout the train.
Yeah. I found them to be all right. They're more of a. It's less being undead, more of a. 28 Days Later, is that the film? It's more like 28 Days Later. It's more of a rage that causes people to attack them. But I thought them to be effective, but I do wish they went up. A problem I have with the film is that although no element feels half-baked, although not all the elements feel fully realized, like the zombies. They're not all that, they're kind of they don't do too much original with it, although the original elements they do add, I quite like, and I wish they went more into. I like for instance, I like the movement, I like the eyes, but I also like the little details added to their behavior. Like, for instance, zombies in this film can't see. Zombies will only. How to explain this? Zombies in this world will only attack you if you're in their immediate vicinity of senses. So, if you're being chased by a zombie and you close a door in its face, it's just gonna forget you're there. And I think that's a very cool idea. And although they do, and I wish it was explored a bit more. They do explore it a lot in the mid movie action scene, but it's just such a really cool idea, which I would love to see put somewhere else, used in a different environment. I would like to see somebody, say, go in the street, hiding from zombies, maybe pretending to be trash or something. And obviously, I don't think we can really get that in this movie because of the setting. But I found it to be very creative, there's also a few elements, like I mentioned, how there's the feet. I just wish they went a bit farther with some elements.
Want to talk more about characters?
Sure, why not?
So another example of character development that I have is the high school student and the cheerleader.
Yeah.
He's originally uninterested in the cheerleader, but develops feelings for her as he helps her escape the zombies.
I think it's less that he's not interested, more that he's embarrassed by being with her. He's with her, he doesn't seem to be too social with her, but and he just seems very embarrassed when his friends are teasing him for it. He's kind of embarrassed by that. But yeah, I do like how they went for the film, and I also like how it's a good excuse for them to all have baseball bats, which I find again a cool idea.
Yeah. Do you like the ending?
I guess this goes into spoilers. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I liked it fine. It's a good way. I thought it was a natural way to end this story. It's definitely a very high octane. I don't think it's the best action scene in the film, but I think it's the most explosive and extreme. There's so many, and there's just spoiler, and also this goes into spoiler territory. I also like how basically basically everyone dies except for the daughter and the pregnant woman, which I was not expecting, and I found that to be very, very kind of refreshing. How'd you find the ending?
I thought it was okay, but I wish the father would have survived.
I mean, that's what.
I wish he and his daughter would have reunited with the ex-wife.
Yeah, I found it to be properly tragic.
But I found it touching when the pregnant woman and the daughter arrive to the base.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't for the daughter, they both would have been killed by the guards.
Yeah, I did like that. Definitely, like the rest of the film, definitely gives that film tension. There is a feeling, like, as mentioned, everyone, basically, they're the two characters we have left, and we don't know, and so it feels very much like they could die in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Also is a weird choice of song, like, I forget what it's called, but the song, whatever it is, if I'm not mistaken...
The song works.
It works, but it works for the film, but it's a weird choice because it's a Hawaiian song. I think I've heard of it before. And it was basically made by the Queen of Hawaii when it was conquered by the United States. Which,
how do you know this?
What?
How do you know this?
I've heard of it a few times. It's called, if I'm reading this right, Aloha Oi. I don't know why they use that song in particular, but there's a weird hit, but it is a odd song, weird song choice.
Mm-hmm.
Weird song choice. That's Aloha. What else is there to talk about? I think with all due respect, I think we should probably start wrapping things up.
Okay. Would you recommend this movie?
I would give it a recommendation. It's not the most protein-rich. It's definitely not the most richest film, but I think it's a fun time, and for a zombie film, it has a very cool cool premise, which I enjoy, which is used very well. Never really. That's another thing. Like, it never really felt like the premise never really felt like a gimmick. Like, say, think of it, like a lot of zombie films have these weird settings, and it's sort of treated like a gimmick, like Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. Like, that felt very gimmicky. But that didn't really come across this film. I think it's a good film, and I would give it probably a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. I found it. Yeah. Also, this might go without saying, if you don't like zombie films, you're not gonna like this film. This goes to a certain audience. This goes to a certain audience member, but
I'd give it an 8. Yeah. It's flawed, but it has the funny moments and the zombie fights to bring it up a point for me.
It works. Yeah, it works. It works well. It's on Netflix.
But what I'm trying to say is the zombie fights and funny moments make up for the flaws.
Yeah. It's as mentioned. Although some elements are kind of underdeveloped, it's quite an enjoyable film, and if you want to check it out, it's on Netflix.
Yep.
All right. So Luca, what do you want to review next week?
Okay, so I'm going to be changing things up a bit by picking My Life as a Zucchini.
All right, sounds good.
Mm-hmm. It's on Netflix, by the way.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for your time, Luca.
Thank you for talking.